Gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government. You still think that jet fuel brought down the World Trade Center? Does anybody else see a problem here? If the government has nothing to hide, why are they so afraid to answer a few questions? This story does not add up. Listen to me. Listen to your
And the mere accusation alone by the executive branch or someone in the Department of Defense would place you under military jurisdiction and then give the president the option of detaining you indefinitely, sending you off to Guantanamo. It expressly states that a person who is under that first section can be, one, detained under the laws of war without trial until the end of the hostilities authorized by the authorization for use of military force.
And the wars never end. We're always under an endless emergency. And those, before you continue, that say, oh, well, let us get tough. Why even have America then? Because America is about due process and is about checks and balances. So you can't stage things. So people get a day in court. I mean, you know, this idea that due process is bad, all these people that say that, well, they should just move to another country. If they don't like due process, they should move to North Korea.
Yeah, if you don't want to live under the Bill of Rights and Article 3 of the Treason Clause, which is what this directly violates, then please do move to North Korea or China. So it states you can be detained indefinitely for the duration of the war on terror, which could be forever, or number two, trial under Chapter 47A of Title 10 U.S. Code, which is the UCMJ as amended by the Military Commissions Act. And what that means is military tribunal, military commission. And it also has a section 1036. Some people say, well, you know, you get a right to challenge your determination. Well, it mandates in Section 1036 that if you challenge your determination, it will be a military judge that shall preside at proceedings for the determination of status of an unprivileged enemy belligerent. And it also states that you will get, if you want one, a military lawyer, not a civilian lawyer, only a military lawyer. So the point is that they're treating you, the American people, precisely the same as if you were an Iraqi or someone in Afghanistan in an occupied country. They're going to come into your house once they decided that you're a bad guy, or just that they don't want to call you a bad guy, say they don't like Alex Jones's speech. And so they designate him an enemy combatant and accuse him of aiding al-Qaeda in some way. That before you get a trial, before anything else happens, they come to your door, middle of the night, kick your door in, guys in black body armor come in, put a machine gun to your face and your children, and whisk you away to Guantanamo.
Well, wait, Stuart, it's worse than that, though, because we already have the MIAC and Homeland Security reports. We got a new one yesterday where the feds are telling all local police that State Rep Charles Key in Oklahoma, a great guy, and the victims' families of Oklahoma City who are investigating what happened there, they are listed as domestic terrorists. Actually, it says domestic terrorism section. It lists them, and even mainline libertarian websites. We've already seen Ron Paul having American flags. So the point is, they're already teaching the police and military this. They're already saying the returning veteran's the #1 enemy. You know, they sell it on it's al-Qaeda.
Oh, I know, of course, but point is like I said, he couldn't get what he really wants. He wants that wide open definition that includes or other acts of terrorism. But what he can get, and what he's getting so far, the Udall amendment yesterday to strike this provision was defeated. What he's getting so far is a definition that's supposedly narrow, that only applies to al-Qaeda or those affiliated. And
the same al-Qaeda they've put in control of areas like North Africa and Libya and are moving over to Syria. I mean, this all rings hollow when it turns out the globalists are running al-Qaeda.
What they're going to do, Alex, is what they'll do is they'll pass this bill like it reads now, and then later on, say the next appropriations bill for the Defense Department next year, they'll insert a very vanilla amendment that says, insert at the end of this section, or other acts of terrorism. And there you go. It'd be a wide open sweeping in of anybody accused of any act of terrorism. But even right now, all they have to do, this is the point, you won't get a jury trial, you won't get a grand jury indictment. They can just accuse you of aiding al-Qaeda through some means, for some nefarious means, and then whisk you away to Guantanamo. And when you want to challenge it, it'll be a military judge, handpicked by Obama, who will determine whether or not you are justified in being held. It won't be a jury.
But what about the sections dealing with using the military domestically? We know for decades they've been trying to do this, and we see Marines running checkpoints in California and Alabama and Army checkpoints in Tennessee, TSA now at checkpoints around the country. I mean, they're already doing this, and they're already killing U.S. citizens abroad.
Well, that's the other part of it. That's the other part of it, is that the backdrop to this is that the Supreme Court in 2004 in the Hamdi decision gutted the Bill of Rights. It's a horrible decision. I don't know why liberals keep saying it's some kind of victory for the Bill of Rights. It was nothing of the sort. I mean, even Judge Napolitano got it wrong last night in his interview with Rand Paul. You know, God bless him, but he missed it on this one. In the Hamdi case, Justice O'Connor, for the majority, made some flowery speech about how the power of the executive branch is not limited, but she went ahead and also said there's nothing in the Constitution that prevents the U.S. government from detaining one of its own citizens as an unlawful combatant. And then she said, but they have a right to challenge their determination, and they have the right to counsel. And in that decision, the only thing the liberals were arguing against back then was that Congress had not given authorization. Well, the Supreme Court ruled in the Hamdi case that Congress had given authorization in the 2001 authorization for use of military force, which even Ron Paul voted for. But he didn't realize they were going to use that to justify military detention. So what they've done is they've opened the door to the international laws of war being applied to the American people. And yes, as I said in my paper back in 2004, if you can detain somebody under the laws of war, what else can you do with an enemy combatant? You can also just kill them on sight, which is what Obama has started to do. It's all about the laws of war. The NSA spying on the American people was defended by the Bush administration as being under his powers as commander-in-chief to surveil the battlefield. Obama now claims the power to go ahead and just kill you. It's all very consistent with what can be done to a foreign enemy in wartime.
Well, that was my next point, is that if you go back to the Military Commissions Act and all of that, I remember at the time covering it and having you and others on, you know, it says citizens are exempt unless the Defense Department or people they designate say that you're a combatant, and now you're basically extrajudicially stripped of the rights of a citizen. So it's all these games, and they say it over and over again. But what about the overall psyop last week and this week of saying it doesn't affect citizens, even when Lindsey Graham and even when John McCain admitted it did? We see that classic military psyop of trying to make the debate about whether it did this or not, instead of debating, is this a good idea?
Well, that's Section 1032, and there have been some folks, even an article in the American Thinker that misread that. 1032 requires military custody, but then for certain people, but then exempts from that requirement U.S. citizens or lawful residents for actions that are committed here. What that means is that the president must detain someone in military custody if they meet the criteria, except unless they're U.S. citizens or lawful residents. And in that case, he's under Section 1031, he has discretion. So all it really means is that he must detain some people, but when it comes to U.S. citizens and lawful residents, he can do what he wants. He can try them by a jury trial for criminal statutes under federal law, or he can put them in military custody. It does not say that the military trial provisions or the military detention provisions cannot apply to American citizens. It just says that he has discretion. And this is something that I believe it was the other senator you mentioned earlier who got it right. He said, look, all it does is lead up to the president. And the president likes that. He is not opposing this detention policy. He's simply opposing that one section, 10.
And then, by the way, all the presidents do. I mean, you're a Yale constitutional award-winning lawyer. You know more about this than I do. But watching and studying it, the president then just lets the Secretary of Defense and then his designates do whatever you want. So people think, oh, well, this is special things just with the president. But the way I've seen this done in the past, the president then just designates it and creates his own military Praetorian secret police like the SS.
Well, that's correct. In this actual document itself calls for the establishment by the Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of State and the Director of National Intelligence. They set up their own system for determinations, and it won't be done by the president. Like under Bush, Padillas and Hamdi, both of them U.S. citizens, were designated unlawful combatants by flunkies in the DOD, lower bureaucrats, not by President Bush himself. So you're correct. Incredible.
Now, what about this new bill? Have you seen this new one? I've got an article here, authorizing torture. Now they're not even denying that it's torture. They're just saying, yes, we're going to torture And it goes on to say the same Senate which today moved forward with a bill allowing indefinite detention of American citizens on American soil for suspicion of being terrorists is now considering a bill to repeal the prohibitions against torture. The ACLU and another 30 organizations sent a letter to the Senate asking them to oppose an effort in Congress that threatens to revive the use of torture and other inhumane interrogation techniques. I mean, the Nazis, Stuart, as you know, didn't put stuff on paper. I mean, as a constitutional lawyer, as a veteran, but this is a guy searching history, why is it a bad idea to have torture? That's like asking, why is it wrong for Mr. Sandusky to rape children? I mean, well, why is it wrong to put children in barbecue pits? But, I mean, why is it wrong to have a government that secretly arrests people and has dungeons and tortures people? Why is it wrong to put babies in deep fryers?
Well, I mean, the founders, first of all, as a matter of constitutional law, the founders put the Bill of Rights in place and also the Treason Clause of Article 3, in particular to stop torture, to stop compelled confessions. That's how they got a compelled confession out of you in the Star Chamber in English history. They tortured you, forced you to confess, and then they executed you for treason against the king. The founders knew that history. They also experienced, if you go read the Declaration of Independence, it talks there very clearly about the cause of taking up arms. One of them is denial of jury trial. One of them is the application of a jurisdiction foreign to their constitution against them. Another one is, which would be military tribunal. Another one is the application of military law to the colonists, whisking them away overseas. This
quartering of troops, and they've already militarized our police. I mean, that's military right there. That's an end run around posse comitatus.
I mean, the whole Bill of Rights, the 4th, 5th, 6th Amendments, and the 8th Amendment also, in particular, were designed to stop exactly this: arbitrary detention, denial of jury trial, being whisked away into military custody, the military being made superior to the civilian power, the denial of the right to jury trial, which is mandated in Article 3 of the Treason Clause. It tells you very plainly what must be done with an American who wages war against his own country or aids the enemy. And Scalia got this right in his dissent in Hamdi. He said, look, the Treason Clause is plain. It's right there. It tells you you must try them in a court, in a civilian court, in front of a jury of their peers in a public trial.
And if they're a traitor, they're going to get executed. But I mean, here's what's so amazing.
Right. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point of that, is they knew that secret evidence and torture would be used. That's why they insisted on a civilian trial in an open court with 2 witnesses to the overt act.
Absolutely. Not one, informant or something lying. Now we have secret informant testimony. I mean, and now you can't face your accusers. How much of our constitutional system has been completely overthrown? I mean, as a layman looking at this, it looks about like 80% has pretty much just been blown to bits.
Well, if they pass this bill, it'll be pretty much our enabling act. I mean, the only thing left would be for John McCain to do an amendment that says, or any other action that's considered terrorism by the U.S. government. But really, you should see this as a declaration of war against the American people. That's how we should see it. We need to stop this right now. If we don't, Alex, I do believe that there'll be no recourse except another revolution. Otherwise, we are going to be lost. We will be put in the same position as the founding fathers were in 1775. They have taken off the mask and told us, I mean, they could do it to your kids. There's no age limitation in this bill. They could take your children away and take them to Guantanamo and hold them for the duration of the war on terrorism on the mere accusation that they are terrorists. I know it sounds ridiculous, but they could do it. So why do you want to wait until it gets done to you, the American people? They're telling you already what they're going to do. They're declaring war on you. John McCain is a traitor. Every single one of them that votes for this, Lindsey Graham, are all traitors. They committed treason against you. And I don't use that term lightly. But they are declaring war and waging war on the American people. And so, as far as I'm concerned, if they pass this bill, it's put up or shut up time for the American people. Either you're going to fight another revolution or you're going to be slaves.
Well, Stuart, at the beginning of the show tonight, I said to the viewers, I said, I'm never somebody that shoots my mouth off about violence. I want to fix things peacefully. I'm into the info war. And I've studied history. It's engrossing. I'm obsessed with it. And unfortunately, I had to tell viewers at the beginning that people do need to go ahead and prepare for defense, because this is a declaration of war against the American people. They've set Northcom up. They've set up the National Police Force. They've set up the secret police. They tell us torture's good. They say they'll arrest us for no reason and throw away the key. I mean, these are Hitlerian, Stalinistic declarations